Welcome back to the next edition of Satsang, Sadhana, and Sangha. I'm going to talk to you today about Kriya. And in specific, we're going to use the double breathing Kriya as a review for some of you. And for those of you who this is new, this will be an introduction to a new technique. So the first thing we want to think about with Kriya is what are we doing? So what is the definition of Kriya? We look at the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which define Kriya as comprised of tapas, swadhyaya, and Ishvara pranidhana. These three components, tapas, swadhyaya, and Ishvara pranidhana, are the core or fundamental qualities that make up what Patanjali is calling Kriya Yoga. And so the definition of Kriya is an action or an activity which leads to evolution. And so Kriya is distinctly different from the word karma, although the root of both of those words is the same, kra, which means to act. So an evolutionary activity, one that leads us to freedom or a feeling of expansion, is one that liberates energy. And so when we think about yoga and the methods of yoga, the techniques of yoga, including the asanas, the different pranayamas, all of the movements and different things that we do with our breath or our mind or our posture or our concentration, if they're done effectively, the result is a more connected and a more whole, a unified sense of self. And this is the purpose of yoga. And so this definition, Kriya Yoga, is tapas, swadhyaya, ishvara, pranidhana, evolutionary activity that leads to a state of wholeness, or yoga, unification, has tapas, effort, swadhyaya, self-observation or self-study, and ishvara pranidhana, surrender to the divine. So we look at those three things and we try to weave them into not only all the layers of our practice, because hopefully all of the aspects of our practice are leading us to what I just described a moment ago as an evolutionary, that these things are an evolutionary activity that lead us to a state of wholeness. And the specific kriyas that we do, right? There are kriyas that are part of this thing that we're talking about called yoga that lead to an expansion of energy or liberate tension in the mind or in the body. And so this is just an overview of Kriya. And for those who are familiar with double breathing, then you know that this is a breath that we breathe twice through the nose and then twice through the mouth. And we do that. And typically we do that 30 times for 30 breaths, right? We do 10 in the belly. So it's like this. We do 10 there. And then we do immediately 10 belly chest. And then we do 10 in the chest. So I want you to imagine we've done 30, 10 in the belly, 10 belly to chest, 10 in the chest. And now here's my 30th breath. And then I empty completely. All the air comes out. I empty myself. Some of you have different levels of practice. And so there are different levels of refinement that we can do depending on how qualified we are according to our own practice and our own results of our experimentation to feel the different levels that are present. And so I'm going to walk through some of those levels. I finished my last exhale. And I might notice that all of my energy starts to go down. And if I squeeze the last little bit of air out of my lungs by pulling my lower belly in towards my spine, which is a form of Uddiyana Bandha, with the belly pulling in towards the spine at the end of the exhale, and then holding the exhale out for just a moment, I might feel my pelvic floor lift up. The muscles at the base of the spine draw up. This is called Mula Bandha. Holding the breath out, pelvic floor lifts. As I start to inhale through my nose, I can keep the lift in the pelvic floor. I can keep the navel drawing in, Again, these are levels of development. And I'll start to inhale with the navel back. The breath will move into my back body. I can feel it moving up my spine as I'm inhaling. And I'm going to rise up all the way with the inhalation until I can't breathe anymore. And as I hold the breath in, something will happen with the body. So the body has been filled like a vessel. And this, when we hold the breath, it's called a kumbhaka. A breath retention is a kumbhaka, a suspension of breathing. And the breath being held in, antar kumbhaka, there's a light that has filled the body. And as I hold the breath, I spread the light through the body into the limbs. I might have a mudra with the hands. The hands can be on the knees. Breath is held, and it's like I'm spreading the light of the held breath into the limbs of the body, into the legs. The chin can tuck and the chest will lift up to reach the chin. This will lengthen the back of the neck, opening up the brain stem. I can press my tongue to the roof of my mouth. This is called Ketchari Mudra, the tongue pressing up. And then I can focus my eyes up to the center of my brain. Tongue up, eyes up, pelvic floor lifted, belly in. I'm holding the breath, kumbhaka. I'm spreading the light through my body, distributing the light. And I hold for just enough time to feel that the light has distributed through my body, and I've created a container for it. And then I release the chin and I exhale slowly. I like to let the breath out through the mouth with a little bit of a sound. It's like I'm letting air out of a tire. And then I hold the breath out. Now, this is very important. As I hold the breath out, this is another kumbhaka, breath suspension. Holding the breath out is known as bahya kumbhaka. Antar kumbhaka, breath held at the top. Bahya kumbhaka, breath held at the bottom. So I'm holding the breath out, and this is where I dissolve. I just let everything go. I release all the tension in the body and the mind. And for a length of time that is dependent on your capacity and your practice, I try to stretch that length of time out for long enough to feel like there has been a purification, a cleaning. There's going to be a natural meditation that arises. And without rushing for the inhale, without chasing after the inhale, I slowly inhale again after holding the breath out. The breath rises up the spine because the navel's drawn back, so the breath can go into the back body. I fill up completely. Again, I bring the chest to the chin and the chin to the chest. Back of the neck is long, tongue up, eyes up. I hold the breath again in now for not, this isn't held for as long as I comfortably can, but for enough time to again distribute the light through my body. I release the chin and I exhale. And that is one round of this technique that we call double breathing Kriya as an example of some of the Kriyas that we use in our practice. And so this technique, the double breathing Kriya, helps to liberate a lot of tension in the mind, but this also opens up all of the breathing pathways, stimulating the lower lobes of the lungs when we breathe with the belly. The belly and the chest stimulates more of the chest, and then in the chest, the upper lobes of the lungs. After 30 breaths, this will take you about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes of just doing the breathing. And then going into the kumbhakas, the breath retention, we get to really wash the mind, right? It's like there's like a release and tension in the mind. There's a surrender that takes place and the ability to observe. And so just in the course of 4 minutes, right, one full round of this Kriya with the breath retentions included, I get to explore all of these different aspects of Kriya Yoga as taught by the Yogi Patanjali. And so this fits into a larger system of practices, including all the other things that we talk about. So I just wanted to review that for you, review Kriya for you, and to use this to stoke your fire in your daily practice. Boom.